The government's EV grant is causing quite a bit of controversy because the people who are selling EVs and also the EV shills haven't got it all their own way. I'm not saying that it's right because I think it'll cause massive depreciation on used vehicles. I don't think EVs should get a grant, full stop. But I do think if there is a grant, it should be on UK cars and it shouldn't be on dirty cars, cars made with dirty energy and shipped thousands of miles, holier than thou, condescending, arrogant people who have the dirtiest EV they could get, but look down the nose at you because you're running a petrol, a nice economical little petrol car. They need to take a long, hard look at themselves and think, why am I buying this? I'm not buying it because I'm green. I'm buying it to try and save money because I'm a skinflint. You get all sorts of other people. As EV shills go, probably Ginny Buckley is my favourite. She's been on motor shows. She comes across nice, reasonably knowledgeable, but she's got an EV side. That's it. That's what she does. In order for her to probably make more money, then EVs have to sell better. Not just English ones, because, here we go, I accept. So you see here, look, MG5. First thing, that's got its own little spot on the toolbar. Used EVs, buy a used EV. Buy a car, help me choose, buy a used EV, book a test drive, latest EV lease deals, EV salary sacrifice. So it's pretty much the EV experts. Let me go to home, see what it does on home. Still want a diesel, we try the all new electric Merc with a 484 mile range. I find a perfect electric car, so it's all electric cars in it. So before we go on to what she has to say, I can't just say anything for United Kingdom electric cars here. So let's have a look what she says. I'm an EV expert and I think Labour's new electric car grant is an expensive mess. Ginny Buckley blasts 650 million back scheme. Grants will be a drain on taxpayer and cause rampant EV depreciation. As chief executive of a dedicated electric car website, electrifying, she has got a plug-in. How did I miss that? Electrifying.com, and long-time advocate of electric vehicles, you'd be forgiven for thinking I've been celebrating this week's news that Labour is bringing back grants for EVs. The government press release that landed in my inbox on Monday proudly trumpeted discounts of up to £3,750 on electric cars, saying it was set to slash costs for thousands of UK drivers with an impressive £650 million fund. When you say impressive, it's a £650 million fund, but in the last 18 months, the manufacturers have given away £6.5 billion in discounts to try and sell electric cars. £6.5 billion. Okay, so the manufacturers have given 10 times more away. It boasted that the scheme would be up and running within days, with manufacturers handling the paperwork. I've just spoken to a dealer this morning, what, we're 3 days in or something, got no idea. The manufacturers haven't got an idea either. It's just so confusing. Taking the news at face value, I initially welcomed such a bold move. But having delved into the detail, this is nothing short of an ill-conceived policy that raises more questions than answers. Instead of encouraging electric car uptake, it will instead restrict consumer choice. Labour really needs to go back to the drawing board on this one. They need to go back to the drawing board and scrap it. And they need to scrap the ZEV mandate because that's what's causing the problem with depreciation. They need to be sold on features and benefits, sick of saying it. And also, there needs to be a true cost. There needs to be how green your EV is when it arrives in the showroom. That's what it's needed. If you want to save the planet and that's your reason for buying the EV, then you need to know. TV presenter, electric car website chief executive and all-round EV advocate Ginny Buckley is the prime candidate you'd expect to be celebrating Labour's new electric car grant announced this week. But she says it will be nothing short of an expensive mess. Now, you see, who's expecting her to celebrate it? I wasn't, because as soon as I saw some of the details, I knew it would wind the people up who are selling vehicles that don't qualify for the grant. In order for her website to succeed or get better or make more money, electric vehicles have to sell faster and more of. So she's bound not to be pleased. Doesn't affect her at all. It just doesn't. It affects her website and her living and which horsepower she's chosen to back. Despite a new EV being registered every 60 seconds in June, private buyer sales have stalled. Yeah, they don't want them. They now make up just under 20% of registrations, with the bulk going to company car drivers who enjoy generous tax breaks if they go electric and Motability. In our November 2024 survey with the AA, responded to by over 11,000 UK drivers, 76% told us that the upfront cost was the biggest barrier to switching. Used EVs that cost more when they were new at 12 months old are selling for less than the same ICE car. So that's not true, is it? And there's massive discounts being knocked off already. Massive. You know, if you're buying a TV, if you're buying like a 15-inch TV, do you expect to get it at the same price as an 80-inch TV? It's not realistic, is it? So if EVs were better and they did save you the money, they did suit everybody, people would be prepared to pay a little bit more, but they're not prepared to pay more money because they don't tick any of those boxes. They cost you more to run. If you buy one new and you're a private, they cost you more to run. They're already getting massive. How much money? This government grant, it's a taxpayer-funded grant. What about the tax that people aren't paying already on EVs? And then they want more taxpayers' money. So they're already saving a fortune on tax. Now they want them to get it cheaper. And then they're talking about knocking VAT. They need them to knock VAT off charging. They want them to halve the VAT on new vehicles. Because they're not selling. I believe fresh incentives would reignite momentum and according to Auto Trader, it has reignited momentum. They're getting twice as many views the next day. They're getting twice as many views. I don't think so. I believe fresh incentive will reignite momentum and give more drivers the confidence to switch. My calculations suggested almost half of all new electric models on sale would fall below the 37,000 price cap. Crucially, this support, I don't know how she calculated that because it's retail price. And again, when you go on Auto Trader and you look how many fall below 37,000, and then you look at the discount. Right, let's go. Let's have a look. Come on, Baz. Don't just say things like these EV people do. Back it up. Don't talk shit, because we don't believe you unless you back it up. Okay, that's fair enough. No argument from me. Let me back it up for you. But what I will do, I'll put year from brand new. So there's 5,352 electric cars, new electric vehicles on Auto Trader, 5,352 new ones. So then we go to price, less than 37,000. Mileage price, up to £37,000. We can only go to 35 there, so search. But then what we can do is change the 35,000 in the address bar to 37,000. And here we go, look. This is up to 37,000. There's 2,147 results out of 5,300. But you see, the thing is, that one there, that Skoda, retail price is over, so that would be out. That one there, look at that. Volkswagen ID5, brand new, saved £12,224. It's 46 grand, although the discounted price is below 37 grand. The retail price, so that wouldn't count. That just gets in Volkswagen ID3, but you know, 36,979 recommended retail price. You have mud flaps on that, mats and mud flaps, and it's going to be over. Retail price is over. I mean, there, look at that, £6,000 deposit contribution. There, that one. That's over 37. So as you go down, that's look at that, save 15,760. That's over 37,000. That's another one that's out of the equation. This one, 39, out of the equation. 40,000 out of the equation. 40,000. 41. Little Fiat there, that's in under 37. That one there, Renault Megane, is in. That one, Peugeot e-Rifter, a van. Is it a van? I might be wrong. That one over, that one over, that one over, that one over. You see, you can't search on Auto Trader by retail price, can you? So you're getting a very, very jaundiced view. There are actually few cars already under 37. So why she expected it to make a massive difference, I just don't know. I believe fresh incentives would reignite. Reignite. That means it was ignited, and now, a bit like EVs really, because they set on fire, the fire brigade come and put them out, and then there's a possibility of them reigniting 6 months later. So that's what she must mean by reigniting. It's like EV speak. My calculations suggested almost half of all new electric models on sale would fall below the £37,000 price cap. Crucially, this support appeared to be aimed where it was needed most, from school-run staples to budget-friendly runarounds. How wrong I was. As they say, the devil is in the detail, and as the week has unfolded, the details behind those upbeat headlines have painted a very different picture. Instead of a straightforward grant on all EVs under 37,000 designed to help hard-working people make a sustainable choice, the rigid rules and baffling conditions surrounding which cars qualify and by how much have left even the car makers scratching their heads. I'll agree with that, it has. And me, I don't know. I started looking at something before, and honestly, I lost the will to live. At the heart of this complexity is something called a science-based target, SBT, which requires manufacturers to commit to cutting greenhouse gas emissions in line with limiting global warming to 1.5C or below 2C, as set out in the Paris Agreement on climate change. You'd assume the government would have a simple list of eligible manufacturers. Apparently not. Instead, car makers with customers in dealerships already asking about discounts are left wading through bureaucracy to figure it all out. Even if the company has signed up to an SBT, like Renault or Ford, the scheme may still reject cars assembled in countries with poor overall sustainability records or high emissions. Why should it not? Why should it not? That would be first on my list of rules. First list of rules, Chinese EVs made with dirty fuel, shipped over here, not on the list. Do you know what would be second on my list? It's the UK taxpayer, UK vehicles, things that are made in the UK, things that support UK workers. That would be my number 2. And surprise, surprise, even that isn't as simple as it sounds. Ginny pictured with the new Nissan Micra. Do you know what? I thought that was a Renault 5. But I like both of them. That Renault 5, I'd have one. I'd have one of those Nissan Micras too. Look great. Which is due to hit the showroom before the end of 2026. Will it qualify for Labour's stringent subsidy scheme? Possibly not. The emissions calculations are split between where the battery is made and where the car itself is built. This means a car assembled in the UK or Europe may score well for manufacturing and earn the minimum £1,500 grant, but fail to reach the additional 70% score needed for the full £3,750 if its battery is sourced from a country with a lower environmental score. Why not? Why is that so bad? Why reward people for doing the exact opposite of what we're being told they're doing, making clean energy cars, especially China? Transport Minister Lillian Greenwood told BBC 4's Today programme on Wednesday, "We don't expect any cars that are assembled in China to be eligible for the scheme." It's the first thing the Labour government has done that I agree with and applaud. Yes, you've got one thing right in 12 months. This rules out cars like the Volvo EX30. That's Swedish. You see how it's winding people up? Volvo EX30, loads of those have been pre-registered. Honestly, loads. It's just a flipping joke. They have depreciated like there's no tomorrow. Baz, don't just say that. Make and model Volvo EX30. So there's 71 new ones on. Brand new ones. Now then, let's just go down. Where's it gone? Yeah, that's brand new. So what we want to do, we want to knock that out. We want to put any to 2025, 576. Then let's just have a look. Mileage to there's 235 with less than 100 miles on. There you go, look at those. Now those, that'll be all relevance again. Relevance, that's Auto Trader's relevance search, which they should just rename that cock you up search. Most recent, 235, and you'll see there, well look, that one's down 4,500, it's done 7 miles. See that one? I'll show my horse in Burton's window if that's done 100 miles. Next one, 15 mile, 15 mile, 15 mile, 15 mile, 15 mile. So that's most recent. How do you find out the real scores on the doors? When you do the most recent search, you go down to the bottom. So what we want to see is the ones that were advertised the longest ago, not the most recent. And the funny thing is, if you just go here, look, that's down 2,200. Oh, let me, no, that's, you see, that's Auto Trader cocking you up again, even in the most recent search. You may also like, and you know what? Even though I've put in Volvo EX30, Auto Trader think I'll like a Polestar 2. And then there's an ad here. You see, that's stuck in right at the bottom. Because if you go right to the top, you know, clever people search from the bottom in the most recent, because they see how long we've had them. So they like to cock you up there as well. So then we go here. That was advertised 19th to the 12th, 2024. Look at that. Save 8,740. They actually put that up, look. They put that up, 500 quid, on the 15th of the 7th. Here we go, look at these. 9th to the 4th. Minus 4,870. Minus 2,190. Minus 4,500. So these are all, and how many miles is that? Oh, it's done 7 miles, nearly new. 7 miles. It's a 2025, 25. It's done 7 miles. Bombing. So this rules out cars like the Volvo EX30. You know, it made in a Swedish car like them Polestars. They're Swedish cars too, aren't they? the Mini Electric, which incidentally is built in factories powered by renewable energy, the MG4 and the Dacia Spring. Well, the Dacia Spring, who was it the other day saying that, oh, it was Colin, wasn't it? Colin Walker, saying that, you know, that's Dacia and Romanian and French. It's Chinese, really. Don't tell him. It's Chinese. Chinese design, different car. Volvo, Polestar, Geely. Family favourites, which it seems won't qualify for a penny. They're already knocking £6,000 off the Dacia Spring. It's only 14.5 grand, from 14.5 grand, and they're knocking, well, they're knocking £5,000 off then, they're on the 10 grand. So they can't sell them with £5,000 off. Making matters worse, many manufacturers striving to make EVs cheaper have switched to LFP batteries, which are predominantly made in China. So much predominantly made in China from coal-fired electricity. They're making so many EVs. They've got 3.5 million in stock. Somebody on my YouTube channel this morning said, yeah, let me read it. Let me read it. From Ricky Julian 496, 15 minutes ago. The fossil fuel industry pumped an extra 389 million tonnes of carbon pollution into the atmosphere last year by needlessly flaring gas. I think that's just burning it off. You know, I mean, that is stupid. In all fairness, it is stupid. Don't worry though, that's worldwide. That's as much CO2 emitted in 1 year as you would get from manufacturing 3,890,000 EVs. Bit of a waste of energy, innit? Fossil fuel is just used to manufacture ice cars, is it? Just ice cars, nothing else. Gas, not used to heat your home. Heat factories that produce other stuff. We're just going to like offset that against EVs, because that's how EV people think. So I replied to him, and I'm no rocket scientist, as you've probably gathered. That's brilliant, and it would make even more ice cars as they're cleaner to produce than EVs, and it takes at the very least 23,500 miles for EVs to become carbon neutral. So are you saying we should stop producing EVs, especially as China have a surplus of 3.5 million unsold EVs? I'll bet that argument sounded better in your head, didn't it? He's not replied to me. So much for my celebrations that the grant was focused on more affordable models. The reality is that car making is a global business. Even if your car doesn't bear a Chinese badge. It's a global business, but we're in the UK. The vehicle is being sold in the UK. It should have a point of origin certificate, and the manufacturers should know exactly how much it has cost to get it to the UK, to the point of sale. Right? There should be a certificate stating that. And then, perhaps, okay, if we're going to do grants, sure. If you're going to give grants to China and they're 50% dirtier than something produced in the UK, then the grant's 50%. If you're going to do one in the UK that's 100% clean, I'm being extreme here, then it gets 100% of the grant. But I think if you started working that out, especially for Chinese vehicles, we get all these people in the UK, all the UK motor trade, glowing reports about Chinese cars, how good they are. They neglect to tell you that 400 have gone out of business. 400 EV, and they expect another 100 to go out. They expect only to be about 7 remaining, 7 still standing. I mean, it's like the Highlander. It's almost like there can be only one.
There can be only one.
It's better to burn out than fade away. Well, is it? What happens to all the other vehicles? We need to find the Christopher Lambert of Chinese EV producers and get rid of the rest of them, because there are going to be so many vehicles with a premature end of life when something goes wrong and the parts have run out. They haven't got any parts anymore. They're in China. They couldn't care less. They're not going to ship them over. We bought a Japanese import. It was the same vehicle in the UK. Absolutely the same. A Toyota. And we sold it. And it had a problem. One of the ball joints was knocking. Rings the Toyota dealer up. Yeah, we've got this. I'm sorry, we don't do that part. And guess what? We had to get it shipped from Japan. And we had to lend the customer a car for about 3 months while we were waiting for his wishbone. That's going to happen with Chinese cars. Mark my word. Ginny, here, I don't know whether she sold cars in the past. She's a lot prettier than I am, and she's got a lot further than I am, and she'll be a lot cleverer than I am. But when it comes to selling cars, she won't be as good as me. Trust me, she won't. Well, I hope not, anyway. She comes back and tells me that she's been selling cars, and I'll be gutted, but you lot will tell me that anyway. The reality is that car making is a global business. Even if your car doesn't bear a Chinese badge, the chances are part of it was manufactured there. See, the truth's coming out now, and it's not just Chinese-made cars at risk of ending up with nothing. Brands from other nations like Korea, which makes some of the UK's most popular cars, could also end up with many models being excluded. The petrol sell all right though, don't they? Without any of this, the petrols are going fine. The only thing that's stopping petrol selling is they can't sell enough EVs. Now, pre-registration. I go on at pre-registrations, but it's a clever process. That's pre-registration is not clever. It's devaluing EVs, yes it is. But it also, if you pre-register one EV, it allows you to sell 3 petrol cars and make profit. Okay? Do you understand that? And I know you petrol guys will, but it's the EV people, because they seem to have a thing about understanding mathematics and car dealer logic. If you register an EV, you can retail, if you pre-register an EV yourself, you basically got three ICE cars that you can sell and make profit on. And with a bit of luck also, you'll get 3 part exchanges, which will also be ICE cars. Well, actually, a few of them will be EVs, but you wouldn't take an EV in, you'd send them to a We Buy Any Car. So you've got 3 new ICE car sales, and then you've got 3 ICE car part exchanges that you'll sell. I call pre-registered EVs, don't I? Do you know what I'd be doing if I was in charge? I'd be pre-registering EVs and I'd be blowing the fuckers out. I'd be getting them off my stocking plan as soon as possible. The government is effectively limiting consumer choice at the very moment they should be encouraging it. No, they shouldn't, Ginny. The car should sell itself. The EVs should, and if they're all as good as you say they are, they should sell on their own, but they don't. So they're not as good as you say. The only person wrong here, in my opinion, and as I say, out of all the EV shills, I like her best. So I'm not having a go to have a go at her because I don't like her, because I do. But I think she's wrong. Far from being the shot in the arm that private buyers need, this ill-conceived grant scheme has only created questions and confusion. I'm now telling anyone in the market for a new EV to pause before making a decision, especially since, bizarrely, it appears that if the entry-level model of a car costs under £37,000, the more expensive version and trims in the same range might still be eligible for discounts. The scheme encapsulates everything that's wrong with the government's policy making. Good intentions, badly thought through and buried under layers of bureaucracy. It simply seems half-baked, with an announcement which was made too early. If Labour truly wants to accelerate EV adoption, they need to go back to the drawing board and design something that actually works for the people it's supposed to help and gives everyone some clarity. So, my advice, start with the used market. Her advice to start with the used market, I would think, is short-sighted too, because the used market is the first thing that will be affected by this government grant. Because if you can get a new one £3,750 cheaper than a used one, and especially all these pre-registered ones that are about, they'll have to go down. And we've seen before, I've pointed out before, they pre-registered them last year, March, pre-registered them virtually every month. Then they pre-registered them in September. Then they pre-registered in January, and then pre-registered in March. Each time there's more pre-registereds, the ones before are affected. It's a domino effect. So you register, when it comes to September, and they register 75 plates, then 25 plates will go down. 74 plates will go down. 2024s will go down. 24 plates will go down. There's a knock-on effect. Every time they're pre-registered vehicles, it wipes millions of pounds off the used car market values. When there's a grant, that does the same thing. So my advice, start with the used market. Where do we go to get a used EV, Jenny? Oh, buy a used EV. Buy a used EV. Let's have a look at that. Oh, here we go. How many's Jenny got? Look at all them. Quite a lot in the Teslas, 2,554. Let me just put that down to 100 miles. That's 6,173. Let's just search that. So that's gone to 6,173 there. So I'll just knock that down to 100, 0 to 100. Well, that's 10. That's only gone to 10. But even that, look how many's that's showing. Pre-regis. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.